try to hide.
For a silly spook, they sit by your side.
Shrouded in a disguise.
They pretend to terrorize.
Grimfish ghosts come out to socialize. As the moon climbs high on the dead oak tree,
To ride for the midnight free.
creepy creeps with eerie eyes.
Start to shriek and harm all night.
Grimfish ghosts come out to socialize. When you hear the knell of a rescue bell,
Rickles meet where spirits dwell.
restless bones etherealize.
Rise and spooks of every size.
When the crypt doors creak and the tombstones quake, spooks come out from the way. Happy parts materialize and begin to vocalize. Grim-grinning ghosts come out to socialize.
Now don't close your eyes and don't try to hide, or a silly spook may sit by your side, shrouded in a daft disguise.
They pretend to pretend.
I think one of the biggest challenges that we had was actually expectations in a lot of ways. Toy Story is such a beloved franchise, and so working with Pixar, they also had very high expectations as well. We also didn't want to let people down. I mean, like my own kids play Toy Story, and they grew up with these characters and love these characters, and so the biggest advantage that we had is working with Pixar. So it's the other side of the coin, but they're such a creative group. They're so open and easy to work with. I think in a lot of ways they're very honest. They're very demanding, but at the same time, it's a very creative, good way, in which they do that. Especially their head of story, Lee and Darla, John Lasseter. As much as they could were involved, but they really gave us a lot of access to their key people, animators, story team, everybody, to make sure that it really felt right. There's actually two different modes in the game. So the story mode of the game is similar to the movie. It kind of touches on the high points, is kind of how we're characterizing it. There were definitely some things in the film and moments in the film that really lent themselves towards a good gameplay. And any of those we would go ahead and take and make, a gameplay section out of. But so there's really 9 levels in the story mode of the game. But then there's another whole mode of the game, which is called the Toy Box, which is based in the Toy Story, property and universe, but it's really about you playing with Andy's toys the way you want to play with them. So it's kind of more of an open world game where you get to build the world, bring toys, a lot of different toys in to make it feel and play how you want to play with it.
Oh, that's ridiculous!
So in the story mode, there's kind of 2 primary things. One of them is kind of the reality that the toys are in when they're kind of in Andy's room and they've, kind of got to get downstairs to get a cell phone or something. In that mode, it's kind of more of a puzzle platformer. So it's multiplayer. You can play as Buzz, Woody, or Jessie. You can have 2 people playing simultaneously. You can switch off between those 3 characters. And those levels are more about solving, how to get around the world and those kind of things. There's also a whole other part of the toys' lives, which is their imagination. And so when they're being played with, it's how they're being perceived, that play session. And you kind of see this in Toy Story 3, the movie, for the first time in any of the 3 films. But we kind of jumped onto that, and so there's a lot of those, like you get to ride Bullseye to kind of save the train. Those are definitely more, kind of action platformers. So I would say, you can kind of divide them between those real-world levels are kind of puzzle platformers. The imaginative worlds are kind of more action platformers. There's actually a few different reward systems in there that we're trying to reward you for playing how you want to. From a game design standpoint, we kind of characterize that as, there's kind of completionists, people who want to kind of check off missions. So you get to interact with the characters, they give you missions, and so we'll kind of guide you that way if you want to. But there's also 2 other systems that do that in the game. One of them is the Gold Star system, which is, if you're just playing around and you're just somebody who's like, say, destroying a bunch of crates, we're going to reward you for that as well. And so we'll give you kind of a gold star to say, hey, good job. You can pick people up, you can kind of punt them around. And then there's a third big way, which is there's the little townspeople in town and the town itself. So you build the town, you can choose which buildings you want in your town, where you want to put them. You can then customize them once you brought them in. You can also bring in kind of like professionals, barbers, those kind of things, and then give your people haircuts. You can give them hats. You can, customize your people however you want as well. So as you kind of go through and look at this, all of these systems build into giving you gold. Giving you gold allows you to buy more toys, so you bring more and more toys into your world, and that's kind of how we keep the whole thing going. The Wii version, obviously, we did a lot of stuff with the controls and those kind of things. It's also, a multiplayer game. The Toy Box mode, we had to do a little bit of a different kind of gameplay mechanic. There were a few things that we did with, we kind of simplified some of the customization and those kind of things. We actually really kind of felt like we were aiming the Wii at a little bit of a younger demographic. And so we really tried to simplify that down, and a lot of the testing that we did with kids, we tried to make a lot of things easier, kind of more point and click, so that, you could kind of point at a building or point at a person and customize them in a different way. Toy Story 3, the video game, is coming on the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3, the Wii, and a whole bunch of other platforms on June 15th.